Welcome back to another episode of Hot Air with me, Joshua Robert. And before we dive into more stories today, I gotta just pause with you for a minute because this week has been very heavy. I'm sure everyone is well aware why. And yesterday I saw something that I did not want to see, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. The video of Charlie Kirk being shot. And yes, I disagree with nearly everything that he stood for. Politics is so fucking messy. But in that moment, watching somebody die violently in front of people was a reminder of just how fragile we are and how close the line is between life and absolute disaster. And what struck me the most wasn't necessarily like the politics of it. That did strike me, but it was the human layers beneath it, right? His family was there witnessing what was happening in real time, his young daughters, his wife. He's a father, he's a husband, and that was snatched away in seconds. And the crowd seeing their speaker, somebody that they did look up to, regardless of whether I agree with them or not, is going to affect them forever. So whether you loved him, you hated him, ignored him, it's impossible for me to not feel some kind of empathy and be affected by that. And of course, the online reaction has exploded as we knew that it would. The left is twisting it, the right is twisting it. Some people are celebrating, others calling this or that side a terrorist organization. I don't have all the opinions. Hell, some days I don't even know what the correct tone is for moments like this. But I do know this. I believe the way that we throw out hate into the world has its consequences. This event, like so many before it, feels like proof of that. The lines of us versus them are becoming so sharp and so angry and so quick to weaponize. So all I can do is speak for myself and say that I definitely feel empathy towards him and his family. And I disagree with every single solitary thing that I've seen him say. I have friends online that are celebrating. I have friends online that are kind of empathizing the way that I am. And wherever you stand, this is one of those times when it's like, this is going to affect us for a long time coming. I thought this was going to be a short intro, but I just feel like I have a lot to say. Nobody deserves to die like that. And I will never celebrate something like this because beyond the politics and beyond the ideology and beyond like who he actually is as a human, this is a question of what kind of society we want to be when opposing views become weapons. So what does that mean for our future? How we talk, how we move, how we heal. This is going to follow us for a very long time. And I fear that it is going to be bad for a hot minute. So I wanted to say that because I'm like, do I just pretend that didn't happen? Or, it's hard to carry on with business as usual after seeing a video like that. And I was just scrolling. I didn't even mean to see it or watch it. And I want to go into today's episode where we're going to hear stories from people that are being vulnerable and facing rejection and finding truth, to just remember that these conversations actually matter regardless of what end of the right and left spectrum you're on. Because at the end of the day, it's empathy that should still be our baseline. So, okay, all of that out of the way, put it out there. Let's get to the reason we're actually here. Today's episode is not just me yelling into the void about politics and pop culture. This episode is about you, the listeners, your stories, real, raw, and unfiltered. I have a powerful letter to share today, one from a young Black gay man who opens up about what it means to come out in a community where the expectations for Black men run deep. And how being out isn't just about who you love, it's about breaking centuries of unspoken rules. And the reason I chose this letter is because earlier this week on CNN, I saw Jillian Michaels. You might remember her from, I think, like The Biggest Loser and various fitness and workout challenge shows. She was going on a panel. Also, I don't know why she's speaking out about politics. She has zero education or background in that whatsoever. Talking about how only 2% of white Americans at the time owned slaves back when slavery was at its peak. And two or three people on the panel were Black people. And so just to be sitting there in front of them saying this is like wild to me. But I've heard a lot of people make that argument that only 2% of people in the United States that were white owned slaves. And so I was like, let me do the math. Let me do some research. So I made a whole reel about it. If you haven't seen it, you can go onto my Instagram or my TikTok where I kind of break down the math around that. And that math equals 550,000 slave owners, which does not include their spouses or their children. So really, it's like 1.5 million individuals owned slaves at the peak of slavery in 1860. So like to argue that only 2%, because 2 is a small number, but you get to ignore the 1.5 million people that actually had slaves working for them. So anyway, that's why I chose this letter, because I went through my email inbox and I was like, do I have something that could kind of complement that? Because that's something I was really passionate about this week. I'm always passionate about that. So that's why I chose to tell the story of a young gay Black man. I want to make space for these voices because maybe someone listening right now feels alone, scared, or like they're never going to find acceptance. And I also want to represent every demographic that I possibly can. So take a breath, go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do, hydrate a little bit, because we're getting into story time and these stories matter. So let's hit it. So this listener would like to remain anonymous, and here is what they write. Hey Josh, I'm 26 now, but my coming out story started a few years back, and it's something I'm still kind of living every day. People think once you come out, it's over. You say the words, and then life goes on. But for me, especially as a Black man, it's been a whole process that doesn't just stop with telling my family. I grew up in a tight-knit Black community outside of a mid-sized city. And from as early as I can remember, the message was drilled in. Black men are supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be providers, protectors, leaders. You don't cry, you don't show weakness, and you don't act soft. And you definitely don't admit that you're gay. So imagine being a little kid, already feeling different, already knowing there was something about me that didn't line up with what was expected. I couldn't even find the words for it at the time, but I felt it. The weight of not fitting into the mold. And the scariest part was thinking if I told the truth, I'd be letting down not just my family, but my whole community. When I finally came out, I was terrified. I had run through every possible scenario in my head. Being kicked out, being disowned, being told I wasn't welcome at the table anymore. But when I told my family, their reaction surprised me. My mom cried, but not out of anger. She cried because she was scared for me, scared of how the world would treat me. My dad was quiet for a long time, and I thought he was done with me. But then he hugged me and said, "You're my son, that doesn't change." My siblings just kind of rolled with it, cracking jokes like siblings do, but making sure that I knew they were cool with me. So, in my house, I had love. I had acceptance. And that's something I don't take for granted because I know that so many people don't get that. But outside of my house, that was a different story. The community I grew up in didn't take it the same way. Suddenly, I wasn't that smart, respectful young man with a bright future ahead of him. I became that gay boy. People I'd known my whole life stopped talking to me. At church, I'd feel eyes on me, whispers behind me. Some folks did not hold back. They came right up to me with Bible verses and speeches about how I was living in sin, how I was confused, how I was throwing away all the sacrifices of our ancestors by choosing this lifestyle. And that's one of the hardest parts about being Black and gay. It's not just about who you love, it's about the weight of history, the responsibility you're told you have to carry as a Black man. I can't count how many times I've been told, Black men already have it hard enough. You don't need to make it harder by being gay. As if my existence, my truth, is some kind of betrayal, like I'm weakening the whole race just by being who I am. I've never thought about that before. And why would I? Because I'm fucking white. Duh. And I see the difference when I look at my white friends who come out. They've got their struggles too, don't get me wrong, but no one tells them they're letting down their whole community by being honest about who they love. That is a unique weight for us, and it's heavy. Over the past few years, I've learned that living openly as a Black gay man means fighting on two fronts. In the broader gay community, racism is real. I've been told no Blacks on dating apps. I've been fetishized, objectified, excluded. And then back in my own community, there's homophobia, expectations of masculinity, the idea that being gay makes me less of a man. It's like no matter where I go, I'm too much or not enough for somebody. Some days that weight feels like too much. Some days I question if it's worth it. But then I remember that younger me, the kid who felt different and didn't have the words for it, I think about how badly I needed to see someone like me living openly and unapologetically. And I realized maybe that's my purpose. Maybe my being visible gives some younger Black kid out there the permission to breathe a little easier. I don't have it all figured out. I still struggle with the whispers, with the side eyes, with the rejection that comes from both inside and outside my community. But I do know this. I am still here. I'm still Black. I'm still gay. I'm still me. And I refuse to apologize for any of it. From Anonymous. Well, that gave me all of the feels. And let's get into a few little takeaways here, a few reminders. So it's crucial to acknowledge that Black LGBTQ plus individuals experience heightened levels of discrimination and violence. I brought that up before. And as the letter says, both within and outside of the Black community. And according to the Williams Institute, Black LGBT people have the highest rates of victimization overall, followed by Hispanic and then white LGBTQ plus people. Additionally, a report by the Center for American Progress found that 33% of Black LGBTQ individuals reported experiencing discrimination in the last year, significantly impacting their daily lives. Statistics like this underscore the importance of fostering inclusive and supportive environments within our own community. I will say it till I'm blue in the face. I'm so fucking done with the no fats, no Blacks, no femmes, no Asians bullshit. Remove it. It is not enough to simply acknowledge these disparities. We must actively work towards dismantling the system of racism and exclusion that still persists within the gay community. And I'm sure I will get deep in it in an episode soon. Because if I start now, I'm just gonna be cussing and I might get canceled. But as we conclude today's episode, let's reflect on the story that was shared and consider how we can contribute to a more inclusive and empathetic world, specifically within our own community. If you or someone you know is struggling, please know that you are not alone. Reach out to somebody, seek support, and remember that your story matters. Just like that man in his letter, he wants to be a role model for other gay Black men that are not comfortable. That's the reason I started this podcast, so that I could be what I would have liked when I was 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, a voice that I could have been like, okay, it's cool. I got this. Everything is going to get better. There are stories that I can relate to out there. There are people similar to me that went through the same thing. So use your voice and share your story to inspire others. So yeah, again, your story, it matters. And thank you for joining me on Hot Air today and for listening to this powerful story of a young gay Black man trying to navigate the complexities of identity, community, and acceptance. His journey is a testament to the resilience of queer people of color who often face unique challenges within both the broader society and our own LGBTQ plus community spaces that I can't even imagine or relate to because I'm white. And if you want to submit your own story and be a part of the Hot Air movement, you can head on over to my website, hotairwithjoshuarobert.com, and you could submit your story on the contact page. There is a form there for you to fill out. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at _hotairpod, and new episodes come out every Tuesday and Friday. So I think that's it for today's episode. Take care of yourselves and each other. Use your voice to make sure that you are heard. And let's all try to find a bit more empathy for each other, even if the people in the headlines do not show that same empathy for you. And until next time, I'll see you next Tuesday.